My name is Sean Price. I'm a singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist. Over the last 30 years, I've learned over 10 instruments and began writing and producing my own songs. Last year, I worked with a professional studio to record and release my first public single, and I loved it. I wanted to keep going. I've always been fascinated by the Vietnam War and the rock and roll of that era, so for my next project, I wanted to write and record a song about a Vietnam vet. A friend of mine volunteered to do an interview with me. He told me about his time in the Army as a medic, his PTSD, his homelessness, and ultimately his recovery. His story inspired a new song, and we made a music video together. He introduced me to a man named Willie. Willie was a Vietnam vet who had a difficult time after coming home from the war, and giving back to vets was the best way that Willie knew how to deal with it. He started a local vet-to-vet chapter in his community, which is an organization that specializes in peer-to-peer support and community outreach for veterans. He invited me to the next upcoming event where we gave out free turkey dinners to vets for Thanksgiving. Willie and I have since become close friends, and I was able to help his vet-to-vet chapter build an online platform and expand their reach far into Southeast Indiana. Willie never opened up much about Vietnam, at least not enough for me to write a song, but he was able to point me in the direction of a man who would be willing to talk. Bill was a published author and a poet who used writing therapy to help his PTSD. He wrote a book called Ghost of Other Men, where he described what it was like for a Vietnam combat soldier. The gruesome details he shared in that book left me appalled, and after meeting him in person, he inspired me to write a song in a similar fashion. We spent the next few months collaborating with each other, sharing lyrics, poems, and ideas. He pushed me to dig deeper and go further with my lyrics. He even encouraged me to write an entire album, so that's what I did. Soon after I began recording the album, I learned about the Veterans Drum Circle at the VA. They used group drumming to manage their PTSD and other mental health problems. Many of them were Vietnam vets, and we instantly bonded over our love for music, history, and percussion especially. After a few jam sessions, I invited them to the studio, and they were able to record a track on my album. Nearly 8 months after the journey began, the album Shell Shock was complete and released on August 2nd. It's a compilation of stories from the vets that I met along the way during this project. It tells the story of a Vietnam vet from childhood through combat, PTSD, and eventually homelessness. While some of the songs on this album may be difficult to listen to, I think they paint a realistic picture of what these guys had to go through. This project led me down a path that I never knew existed. I made some new friends, and I'm now more involved in the veteran community than I've ever been. I hope this project will raise awareness and encourage others to put themselves in the shoes of a combat soldier in Vietnam.